Autumn leaves are falling. And of course it's 9/11, isn't it? 20 years since the most awful 9/11 that there's ever been. And here we still are. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you're good today. So we'll do a reading a little bit later on in this video, but something to really talk about, 9/11, isn't it? I certainly don't want to, let it pass by, because it's at the spiritual level it affects us most now, as far as I can see. Of course, it changed the world, and those effects are still very real. In so many ways, it's still going on. You fly anywhere in the world, you have to take more care because of 9/11. Hell of a thing. And I guess it perhaps means the most to people in the States, because that's where it happened. It was really an attack on the United States, big time. But it shocked us here in UK. They say everyone can remember where they were on 9/11, just like everyone can remember where they were when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I actually can't remember that because I was a tiny child at the time, but it's that kind of thing. It's one of those light bulb moments where you might not remember a lot of stuff around the time, but you remember that time, you remember what happened. And my daughter was about 1 year old at the time, and she was sitting in her high chair, actually, and it came on the news, and I was really shocked to hear it. And then my neighbour came and knocked on the door. Different neighbour to the one I've got now. This is a long time ago. He came and knocked on the door and he said, "Have you heard what's happened?" And I said, "Yeah." And it knocked us all for six. It really did. Because as well as being an attack on America, it was an attack on the whole Western world. So very heavy kind of energy around today as we think about that. But it's times like this when everything I say about spirituality and everything I say about mediumship and the afterlife and how people go on to a glorious awakening on the other side doesn't feel like enough. And it reminds every medium, I think, that there's only so much we can do, I suppose. Because all those people who perished in 9/11, I am sure have gone to, a much better place. Much better place. I'm sure all their pain will have been healed. But of course there are so many people left. Just getting on the road now, better put my belt on. There are so many people left behind. And being 20 years ago, most of the bereaved people are still around. Very, very hard. Very hard. But I'm sure we're all sending out a prayer in one way or another on this. I'm going to say it's a sad occasion. Of course, it's not as sad as the occasion itself, but it's a time of remembrance, isn't it? And there's been a bit of an argument has gone on over these 2 decades, that, well, those people died for freedom, and some people say, well, that's a very flowery way of looking at it, and, really it was horrible. And the truth is, I guess it was both. If we didn't try so hard to have freedom in the Western world, we wouldn't come in for all the terrorist threats that we do come in for. That's a fact. And if we think about what's just been happening in Afghanistan and is happening there right now, very much the energy of the moment, same kind of thing. The people who are in the most trouble in Afghanistan now. So, where was I? I guess the people who've got the most to fear in Afghanistan now are the people who are either putting freedoms into place or living their freedoms. Women who are being educated, people who aren't being forced into crazy marriages, But there's some hope there, you know. I mean, so much time has gone past that the leadership of the Taliban may be a bit more enlightened. I mean, it remains to be seen. I still don't think they're going to be nearly as enlightened as I'd like to see them being. And I'm sure the threat is still there and is still a real thing. But this is something we've got to face in our world, sadly. We're in the world at a time when these things they're happening. They shouldn't be happening. And it gets people wondering, you know, if God is so great, why does God allow these things to happen? Well, I honestly don't know the answer. I really don't. Nobody does. All we can do is speculate, all we can do is think. And this brings us back to that old thing of positive thinking, doesn't it? I can't even say look on the bright side. I mean, there isn't one really. I mean, it's true, you know, Bin Laden is no more. Saddam Hussein is no more. But there always seems to be someone ready to step into their shoes and keep the craziness going. Thing is, somewhere in the world there are people who are genuinely feeling desperately angered by what goes on in the free Western world and are praying in the other direction, if you know what I mean. Crazy. But one thing to be thankful for is that life goes on. Life actually does go on. And life has changed, so I've no doubt that one day all of this craziness, all this fighting, all these terrorist things, these atrocities, this fear, one day it will have passed. It will for sure. And somehow we'll come out the other side, because we always do. But for now, I'm sure all our prayers go out to the families of those who lost their lives, and I'm very sure it's well worth sending up a prayer for those who actually did lose their lives on that terrible day and went through all that fear. We think we know what fear is. Wonder what it's like being trapped at the top of a burning building. Any burning building happens, you know, quite often. We had a situation in London a couple of years ago, and it's still going on, really. Grenfell Tower. It's a high-rise apartment block, and it wasn't made of proper fireproof material, so it caught fire, and the people at the top couldn't get out because the elevators stopped working straight away. And, you know, in a very different way, you had that same terrible thing, people stuck in the top of a building burning to death, and that's actually still going on. And it's all to do with politics. We have a government which is supported a lot by landowners and landlords, which is called the Conservative Party. What they try to do is conserve all the money for themselves. And it's going to be very expensive for high-rise landlords if they have to make the places safe for people to live in. So people are still stuck living in them because it's either that or be homeless. There's no alternative. And the landlords, they keep being court cases, and the landlords keep kind of getting let off the hook, and we'll just, you know, I'm sure everything will be all right. We'll bring in some new law in 10 years from now. And the danger is still there, and the problem is still there. But it'll pass, you know. It always passes. Always passes. So there we are. Let's send out a prayer together now, maybe in this moment, for all who lost their lives and for all who missed them. And a prayer for our world, that somehow one day we learn our lesson and these terrible things finally come to an end. I switched back on because there's something else I want to mention, really. Quite important, I think. And I touched on it earlier. Just the fact that sometimes America gets the blame for these things, and I don't think that's fair. And I mention this because I'm lucky to have a number of American friends. And in the last few weeks, particularly since the Afghanistan thing, I've heard people saying that, Americans saying that, America has got to learn. And I suppose that's true, but only in the sense that everyone's got to learn. Because like I remember now, I did say at the beginning, it's all of us in the free world who want these things that we fight for, who want these freedoms. We could not have won the First World War or the Second World War in Europe if it hadn't been for American allies helping. That's what defeated Hitler. I don't know what more I can say. I think the sacrifices of those people speak for themselves. And they were American people dying with us. So I don't really see that any of the troubles going on at the moment are anything that America should be blamed for. And actually, when you really think about it, all the stuff that's going on, it's people fighting against freedom that are responsible for this. And I hope to God we'll always stick up for freedom. In so many ways, it's the only thing that matters. And particularly when you look at life from a spiritual perspective, it's super important. Freedom to be yourself is the freedom to live out the life that you were meant to live out, that you were put on this earth to experience. And some experiences, of course, are a lot harder than others. But things are healing all the time. All the time. Okay, so let us do a read for today, friends. It's a pick a card as always. And got some different crystals. We've got sunstone, we've got rock quartz. I actually don't know what this one is, but it's very earthy, very grounded kind of crystal. Looks like some kind of calcite to me, I would have said. But yeah, certainly very earthy, very grounded with the those earth tones on it. Malachite, and this is a good one for today. It's a malachite egg, and it's a stone of forgiveness, really. That's what malachite is all about. And it's useful that it's an egg shape, because when we can forgive, when we can truly forgive, it's like an egg of new life, you know, it brings something new into the situation. And then continuing the green theme here, we've got fluorite. And fluorite does not like resistance, but try as we might, we can't resist the spiritual journey and the places it takes us. And then along the bottom, good old selenite, just to power things up, just to give us a little bit extra strength at this rather crazy time. So we've got card 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, friends. Which ones are you going to choose? It's entirely up to you. Let's turn over card number 1 and see where we're beginning this journey. Oh, it is the 7 of Pentacles. That's what we've got here. And it's a really crazy scene. This is the Starman Tarot, and they're all pretty crazy scenes, actually, but they do relate very closely to the traditional tarot meanings, and they really highlight the craziness of life and how strange things can get. So it's a Pentacles card. So lots of abundance indicated there. And of course it's earthy. It reminds us of the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo and Capricorn. And so at a time like this, when we've all got so much on our minds, we do need to stay grounded as much as possible to kind of remember that things that have happened a long time ago in the past were somehow there to teach us. Of course, there was a lot more tragic stuff going on at the time, and I don't really like to say it only happened to teach us, but everything does in some way happen for a reason, and this shows all the energy coming together, because as a Pentacles card, it's full of pentagrams. And the significance of the pentagram is earth, air, fire and water coming together under the guidance of the divine, under the supervision, really, of the Great Spirit. So there's a reminder there that there is that whole spiritual realm where people who are so tragically taken from us are actually taken and healed and comforted. So that's why we can be patient, that's why we can be kind, and we need that patience and kindness to really to be able to grow, to make the most of the lessons life throws at us, and to sustain a life of value and beauty. There's always a certain amount of pressure to make things work, and that would be one of the reversed meanings of the 7 of Pentacles. But things really did get turned on their head on 9/11, didn't they, friends? And as we look back on those terrible times, it really is all we can do to keep trying to grow, to keep trying to make that life a valuable thing, a beautiful thing, and to remember the beauty of the earth, and actually to be reminded of the beauty of the human race, which is a fantastic thing, really, to be a human being. We're capable of so much. On 9/11, we saw it all turned on its head, and we saw the terrible things that the human race is also capable of. But let us not give up on the human race, friends. So important. So there's the 7 of Pentacles. This then brings us on to card number 2. Did you pick card number 2, friends? If you did, then it's this one. In fact, it's this one, whether you picked it or not. And here we go. It's the Sacred Clown. So it's a new journey. And this really does follow on very well from the 7 of Pentacles. Because as we're trying to find that forgiveness in our hearts, and as we're trying to forgive the human race for all its crazy little quirks, then if we can succeed at that, we do begin a new journey. Now, I'm not looking too closely at the clowny side of this. He looks a bit crazy, that clown, but don't clowns always look crazy? Lots of wonderful bright colours, though, and a very fiery sun right behind him. So there's the fire of creativity there, and that is what gets us started on our amazing new journey. He's all about setting yourself free. That's really what he's all about. And to set yourself free, you do need to take a leap of faith. Really important to take a leap of faith. And we see this again and again, not just in the tarot, but in every interpretation of the spiritual life, whether that's something like this or whether it's a religious thing. It's always a leap of faith that is so important to actually get us anywhere. And one of the biggest leaps of faith people ever make is when they resolve that they're going to believe in what I call spiritualism. In other words, just that there is an afterlife, that we do go somewhere after we've lived on the earth. And that afterlife really is just the other side of life. That is a big leap of faith because in so many ways that there's no scientific proof. I would say there's quite a lot of proof from all the mediums out there who are based on giving proof all the time. And that essentially is what I do for my job. Try and just show people evidence that there is another side of life. But it's a big leap of faith. It was for me when I first discovered it. And we need to take that leap of faith to really be free. So step out from the void, really. Embrace any inexperience you've got, because that is truly something to celebrate. That is, any inexperience is room to grow. It's room to find out new, wonderful things. So live in your potential and explore your world, friends. That's what the Sacred Clown is all about. And the journey is on. The journey really is on from this day forth to see where we get. Now let's see what we've got for the middle card. It's the Two of Wands, and I don't need to hold this one up to the camera because it's slap bang in the middle there. The Two of Wands looks like quite a balancing act going on here, actually, as if this character's trying to put a show on. But look at the fire coming out of the wand there. The wands are fire sign energy, so that's the reason for that. It really reminds us of Leo, Sagittarius and Aries. Those would be the fire signs. And those are the signs that are really out there, I guess. Leo is very much about being out there and being on display. And this looks like a Leo character sort of dancing on the tables here in some way to really be seen. Then there's a Sagittarian kind of outgoingness. And the moon is actually going to enter Sagittarius the day after I upload this video. So the Sagittarius energy is kind of around me as I'm making this video. And Sagittarius is out there in a way that can suddenly spring back and be back inside. And then there's Aries, which is the ram-like energy for really pushing things forward. But Aries is quite strict. Those are the different aspects of the fire signs and the energy, the element of fire. I have to keep shutting off the camera, by the way. I'm sorry about that, but this camera claims to be overheating when it isn't. It could do with taking a leap of faith, actually. I think I'll give the Sacred Clown card to this camera. But Two of Wands. You know, wherever you are in your life, it's always going to be advisable to try and have a good, strong perspective. Because if you're really trying to take it all in, that becomes a powerful perspective, you know? Perspective like that has real power. So it's about standing back before you rework the things that your inspiration has brought to you. Incredible ideas come in. Incredible ideas can really send you flying. So you need to review the situation, like the famous song says. You need to review your position, really. Ask yourself, can you see the landscape ahead of you? Can you see what's coming up? Or does there need to be much more research before you start on something new? There's always a new journey going on with the Two of Wands, but which way? And so important that you take the time to understand which way you want to go. And we've got this flash of light up here and this sort of godlike image up at the top. So do consult with your higher self. Think about where your higher self actually wants you to be. It's all about gaining perspective and waiting for the right moment. This would suggest it's a good time to draw up some plans for you and look to the future as well. We get nowhere if we don't look to the future, because the future's coming. The future is here already. As you're watching this, you're in my future, because I'm doing this slightly in your past so I can upload it in your present. You know what I mean? Space-time continuum, all crazy stuff like that, isn't it? But try and know the shot, basically, because the future is coming. So evaluate carefully. That would be my advice about the Two of Wands in this position. And this is the heart of the matter as well. This is going to relate to these two. I don't know what they are yet, but it's going to relate to these two. And it certainly relates to these two, because this is the midpoint of a journey. This is where you really need to evaluate, where you really need to work out where you want to be. Oh dear. Excuse me. Right. I do know how to edit now, but it's pretty difficult to get a cough out without losing the rest of it. Card number 4 is Major Arcana number 7. It's the Chariot. So the journey really is on. And as we come forward from the Two of Wands, we hopefully have decided where we want to be going, where we want to be headed down the road towards, and that journey is most certainly happening. Very strong energy with this one because it is from the Major Arcana, but look, it's come up with the Stone of Forgiveness, the Malachite Stone. That's what this is all about. These two are all about sort of insight and power. Rock crystal quartz is very insightful. They're all very magical. That's the nature of crystals. We've got this grounding need showing up here. But sunstone, absolutely beautiful way to start any journey off with sunstone, because it is so empowering. But here we go. We're not going to get anywhere without forgiveness. Forgiveness is so much a part of this journey that's going on with the Chariot. This is progress that's come from hard-won successes. Battles you've had to fight in your life before will all have led you up to this moment. So thinking again about 9/11, it was a battle, wasn't it? A battle that nobody really wanted to fight, or none of the good guys wanted to fight anyway, but that battle was forced upon us, as the battles of life so often are. So it's hard won, you know, to be in this position where you can go forward, and it is a success to be here. So whatever this card is connected to is going to demand completion. We need to go further into this, to look deeper into this, and to make as much progress as we can along the spiritual journey. It's about finishing what you start. And if you're actually working with people, then balance and harmony is what needs to be brought into being. And you can do that by acknowledging the needs that people have and keeping control. You know, not in a controlling, overbearing sort of negative sense, but just being in control of your own situation and being in control of how other people play into your life, because they're going to need to be in control of how you play into their life, and the whole thing that really does balance. So you can consciously release any frustrations, and you can do that in a creative way as well, and talk things up. You know, there's nothing like the power of being positive and talking yourself up. Speaking positively about yourself and your journey is so important. That becomes a mantra, and it keeps the wheels of the chariot spinning in the right direction. So you must take people's needs and feelings deeply into consideration. Ultimately, you've got to take full responsibility for your words, for your deeds, but take charge of that destiny, friends, especially if you pulled this card. Seize the moment. You know, if something good's happening, grab it with both hands and let the momentum actually carry you forward, because there is momentum behind you when you get the Chariot card. Finish what you put into motion, you know, finish what you started. Don't be hesitating. Take the attitude that you can do this. And particularly as we've got this as a tarot card, let me say, the universe has your back. You can most definitely be going places, friends. Okay, so we come to card number 5. Let's see what we've got for card number 5. Fluorite, a stone which really does not like resistance, but is all to do with progress, so it feeds into the Chariot nicely. And here, as an outcome card, in inverted commas, we have got the 6 of Cups. Lots of healing green, lots of healing purple, a great deal of healing inherent in this card. There is a sense of sadness in this card. These are like old artworks that have got tarnished. See, the frame is all tarnished on this one noticeably, but there's a bit of that on all these artworks that are hanging about the place, and it's something that needs to be rediscovered rather than reconstructed, but brought back to life in the most constructive way possible. That's what really matters here. It's sort of revival, I guess. And it's inviting you to reconnect with the simpler forms of expression. You know, it's so complicated when we get into situations like 9/11 and when we get into talking about those situations. So complicated, but the real truth, the best truths are always simple truths. And when we cut through all the complications of life, we do find simple truths that make sense. So think about those simple ways of expressing what you believe, and infuse what you create with the wisdom of your life, because we've all been in situations where we really feel like we've got no clue what to do. But if we think back, we can usually find something in the past that informs us a bit about what we can do in the present. Maybe we've never used our skills in this new way before, but maybe we can actually find a new way to use our skills and to get ourselves moving forward. So withered spirits can come back to life, really, and creativity again is very strongly indicated. That's quite a theme in this reading. Your life is your canvas, you know, it's your painting. So what you need to do is be aware of the colours and the shapes of the experiences you're having and put them together in the most positive way. So indulge in imagination, really indulge in it, bask in it. Keep a childlike sense of wonder about you as well, remembering those simple truths, and simply reconnect with the most basic forms of expression, the things that you can do and say which really and truly express where you're at and what you're about, and that is really going to take things so much further forward. And there is our reading for the 20th anniversary of 9/11, friends. I hope you got something out of it. I certainly did. I always say that because it's always true. And on this day when we remember those tragic events and those beautiful lives that were so badly cut short, let's remember that, you know, okay, they lost their worldly lives, but they most certainly didn't lose the game of life. Because every soul that lives in this world lives here for a reason and inspires us and helps us, you know, helps people around them all the time. Everything happens for a reason, and at least now they're on the other side of life. They're somewhere where pain and, you know, illness, disabilities, things like that are no more. Everything is healed pretty well instantly when people go to the other side. So let's keep on sending our thoughts out to them. Let's never forget their memory. But let's be creative, friends. Let's move on from that tragedy. It was 20 years ago. We've moved on quite a lot already. And that doesn't mean we're leaving anybody behind. It doesn't mean we're leaving any lessons behind. But it's all part of our new lives as we go forward. So with that, thanks very much for watching, guys. Really appreciate you looking into my channel today. Do hit the subscribe button, please, if you haven't already. More videos are coming up all the time. We're live 3 times a week. Come on one of those live broadcasts and I will be delighted to pull a card for you. That's what we do basically, and there's a real nice Twig Brother healing community going on there in the chat, the live chat with the live streams. So join us for those. They're 3 times a week, Sundays and Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Central USA, 9 p.m. UK time, and on Fridays, 5 p.m. Central USA time, 11 p.m. UK time. So come along and I'd be delighted to pull a card for you, and I'd be delighted to meet you, because that's really what it's all about. Hit the subscribe button, you won't miss that, and you won't miss any of the future videos. Now, I put a quickie video out today about comments. I haven't disabled comments, but I'm holding them all for review. Something sadly I just have to do because there are fake channels and loads of general fakery going on YouTube at the moment. Lots of spam about, and this is spam that leads to places which are not nice. They're really not. So to try and clear and shield the energy of this channel, I am what's it called? I'm holding all comments for approval. That's what I'm doing. But I'll go through them several times a day. So don't worry, if you leave a comment, we are still sharing the journey and your comment will appear, just not straight away. So give me a thumbs up, please, for this one, guys, if you've enjoyed it. And I look forward to seeing you again in a future video. Meanwhile, have a peaceful and a creative 9/11. That's really what it's all about. Take care, friends. See you soon. Love and light and blessings and peace.